recently had a baby, and so earlier on tonight I went out, came back in, and then I went out to watch the Tyson Fight and stuff. Came back in, was like playing with the baby and stuff, and then she was like, I think she was watching Sex and the City and stuff, and so I made a comment about the show. I was like, oh, I haven't watched the show, but like this is what I heard about the show. So she was a little defensive about it. I was like, no, like there's no like need to be defensive about it. Like I haven't watched the show. I'm just saying, what I generally hear about the show. But then she was like just going on and on about it. I was like, hey, take it easy. Like it's not that serious. It's just a show, right? And then the next thing I know, she's like, oh, like you're saying all this stuff, and if it's a guy, you wouldn't say stuff like this, to a guy. I'm like, there's no need to be disrespectful about it. It's just a typical show, like I'm just like, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna ignore you, And then we're playing with the baby. I think the baby needed to eat and stuff, So I was like, hey, do you have milk in the fridge? Prepare some milk and stuff like that. But she kept going on and on about it, and I'm like, hey, it's not that serious, So obviously we started raising our voices and stuff like that in the house. I'm like, hey, it's not that serious. I don't know why you're being, extra about it. Just a show, like a TV show and stuff like that. Which she claimed she hadn't also watched. So I'm like, you haven't even watched it. So why are you being, super defensive about it, But anyways, things got out of hand, and she kept shouting and talking about like the one thing that just was odd about tonight was the fact that she kept saying, hey, like if it's a man, you're not gonna talk like this to him and stuff. And I'm like, hey, why do you keep bringing, like, if it's a man, like, you're not gonna be like talking like about it like this to him. I'm like, why do you have to make that comparison? You're my wife. I'm just talking to you normally,
So when you say it got out of hand, what do you mean by that?
Like, it just kept escalating. Like, she kept like yelling at me and talking about like she just kept like taking it to a whole different level.
So what I'm hearing from you is like that it was a verbal argument. Did it get physical at all?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so what happened there?
Yeah, so so we're talking about it, and then I think she went towards, like, because usually she has this habit of like when we're talking, and then she like goes out of view and stuff, right? So I went like I think she went towards like the what's it called, the laundry room, and then I followed her there. Like I was like, hey, like, all I'm just saying is, hey, it doesn't have to get this high rate. Like, we don't have to like escalate things to this old level where it's like we can't even hear ourselves talk. I was like, it's just a show. Like, they're not paying you for the show. They're not paying me for the show. It's like the show is even an old show, So like, why are we having this old big and also why do you have to like take it to the whole level of like, hey, you're not like all this. You're not like talking like this to other men. I'm like, why are you making comparison with me and like with me talking with other men versus talking to you? Like, are you a man? You're not a man. You're my wife. So like, why make that comparison and stuff? And so we started talking about that and stuff. And sometimes she gets like, high rate, and she does like this old like flamboyant stuff where she like screams and shouts and stuff like that. And so she did that, and I was like, hey, you need to like take it easy. Like, the neighbors are sleeping. It's like past 1 at night. Like, you can't be yelling like this and stuff like that. And so she was like all like frazzled. I was like, hey, just calm down.
She was holding the baby at this point, right?
No.
Okay, the baby was on the ground?
No, the baby was. I was with the baby initially.
Okay.
So I put the baby down, and then we're having that conversation. But I was part of the reason why I was telling her, hey, just calm it down, was because the baby was also sleeping. So I finally got the baby to sleep and stuff. So I was like, hey, calm it down. Like, there's no need for us to be like yelling at the top of our voices just because of a silly show, and then the baby is like waking up from his sleep and stuff. And so like I was trying to like calm her down and stuff. Things got out of hand there, and and so we're just going back and forth and stuff in the garage. Like, so the garage is towards the laundry room, and then we came back in. She was like, okay, cool. Like, she's all calm and stuff like that. She took the baby. At that point, I think the baby was crying again, and needed some food. So she went to like prepare the milk, brought the milk there, and was feeding the baby. And I was like, hey, but like, I understand we can have disagreements, but like, why try to disrespect me? And she was like saying things like, oh yeah, she's just trying to rile me up so that when next we have sex, she can like, I can be, I guess, motivated. I'm like, why why are you disrespecting me just to get me motivated to have sex with you? I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get motivated based on someone disrespecting me and demeaning me.
I get the argument. I get that what you're saying. It sounds like both of you guys were frustrated on when you're saying it escalated. How did that happen physically? Because she has a mark on her face where she's bleeding.
Oh,
and
no,
her nail is broken, like completely, like down to the.
Yeah, that I don't know. I don't know how she got a mark on her face. If she got a mark on her face, then that's probably self-inflicted. If she got a mark on her face, that's absolutely self-inflicted.
Okay, so then how did it get physical?
Yeah, so it got physical when we go back in the house, and she was, and then I was like, hey, she was feeding the baby. I was like, hey, but like, we can get into heated arguments, but we don't have to get to the point where we're like demeaning each other, and then your excuse is you're trying to rile me up for sex, like when we eventually get there. I'm like, that's not my thing. I don't get aroused by stuff like that. I was like, hey, can we just like cut that out? And then she apparently she took offense to that, and she was like, hey, like, no, like she's not gonna like hear me out on that and stuff like that. Like she already told me. I'm like, hey, all I'm just saying is just now we're done with the argument. I was like, hey, we're not arguing anymore. But all I'm just saying is, hey, don't take it to that level, like where you're disrespecting me and then thinking that's supposed to do something for me sexually. That's all I said. And then she started moving towards like the door with the baby in her
like
hand.
To leave?
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, hey, like, why you acting like this again? Like, we already had the conversation, we already had the argument.
Let's calm it down.
Yeah, that's done with. I'm like, no need to do all of that. And then she said, running to, like, she said moving towards the door.
Like she was gonna leave and come out here with the baby.
But then she was with the baby at that point. Yeah. Initially, none of us was with the baby, so I was like, all right, cool.
So that made you like, why are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, it's cold outside. You can't just take your whole baby outside. So I was actually moving towards that, and then I held, like, I was trying to hold her down, like, hey, don't leave with the baby because it's really, really cold outside. And the baby is not dressed for, like, we don't have the baby in a car seat or anything like that. So the baby is not protected for outside. So I was like, hey, don't go out with the baby. Like,
were you so you were trying to stop her from leaving because you didn't want the baby outside?
Yeah, I was like, hey,
were you holding her like on her arms like that?
Yeah, I was like pulling her. I was like, hey, stop, like.
Okay.
Like, whatever you do, just leave the baby in here, and then you can go outside if you want to. But like, it's super cold outside. Like, why would you? And then she started running outside, and she was doing all this like theatrical stuff. Like, hey, help me! I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, stop! Like, stop being dramatic. Did you try
and grab her like to stop her again?
Yeah, I was like pulling her, like, hey, stop! Like, don't go outside with the baby. Like, all I'm just telling you is, you can go outside with the baby, but leave the baby in there. I mean, you can go outside by yourself. But leave the baby inside, because the baby was not dressed for all that, So that was what I was, that was when it got like physical, where I was like literally trying
pulling her back.
Yeah, pull her in, like, hey, stop.
Do you think her face could have gotten cut? It sounds like it was very emotional. Do you think her face could have gotten cut during that?
I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, honestly, I don't know. I might, my nails might not be all the way down, so. It might have happened that way, but honestly, I don't think I even got to her face because I was literally holding her hand, and I know the baby was on her hand.
Was she like trying to get out, being like, let me go, like?
Yeah, and then doing all that, like, and like, I'm gonna scream. I'm like, hey, all I'm just telling you is leave the baby in the house.
Do you have like a license or something on you?
Okay, yeah, I do.
Okay. Thank you. He's gonna get your info into our system. Sure. Just do me a favor, hang tight here for me, okay?
Sure.
All right?
We're in contact with police out there?
Alright, I know you told me your name again, but I already forgot it.
Visui.
Visui?
Yes.
Alright, can you just do me a favor and step out of the car real quick?
Sure.
Thanks. Are the keys still in there?
Well, it's
Your phone?
Yeah, my phone is my key. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna have you turn around.
Yeah.
Place your hands behind your back.
Okay.
You're getting arrested for domestic battery.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Are those pinching your skin or anything?
No, not.
I mean, I know they're not comfortable. I just want to make sure they're not causing any damage to you.
I'm gonna double lock them so that they don't get any tighter on you. Okay.
Okay.
Bravo 3,
remove
mark
your-
1, male in custody.
I'm going to remove
Can
your
I-
watch so it doesn't get
Oh, okay.
pinched.
All right. Sure.
You'll have it with you.
Can I ask? Is it just a word versus mine? That's
No, so I mean, arguing isn't illegal, but when
Yeah.
you get to the point of putting your hands on someone,
Yeah.
then that's a battery, right? And she has injuries. Like I said, she has the cut on her face. She has the mark, or she has the broken nail, right? And you said that you held her to stop her from leaving.
Yeah.
That's domestic battery. Okay.
Okay. So me holding her.
Here, we
So
can walk
we'll
and talk.
We can
We'll walk and talk.
All right. Cool. Brother?
And mine. Okay.
Would you mind doing that?
Transport. All right, we're gonna go right in front of here. We're gonna search you. Do you have anything in your pockets?
Just my phone.
Okay, go ahead and separate your feet. Do you mind doing it since you're male? What do you have? Just your...
My phone and I think my earphone.
Okay,
AirPod.
okay. Nothing sharp or anything?
No.
Shouldn't be. Anybody else at the house?
No.
Yep. Just the car keys. AirPods. Just double check this side again.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna walk you over to this side and sit you down.